Okay, it's a take. Now then, there's a lot in the media at the moment, isn't there, about pensioners and all the difficulties with the Labour government stopping winter fuel payments, and it isn't just that, it's everything following it up. If prices go up, then cost of living goes up generally, and so things are more difficult for pensioners on a fixed income. Now this is the subject of this now is, what have I written down here? How oldies should really be cared for. Okay, so I'm going to say my two penneth on this subject, and I hope a lot of you actually watch this because I think it's important. Ruth and I decided to come and live in France in 2003. We actually moved here permanently in 2008. Best move we ever did, I must admit. So here in France, things are a bit different. As you know, there was a thing called the French Revolution. So the royal family were sort of removed. And yet the French people today really adore the English royal family, generally. They can't get enough information and news generally about Charles and Camilla and the rest of the family. They love it. And there is one or two magazines in French who specialise in, that particular subject. Big following. So just because they had a revolution doesn't mean they're totally against a royal family. But it needed to be done here at the time, and the results are long-lasting. Today, equality, fraternity and liberté, which are the three principles of French living, still exist. And so, for instance, in our small town, there is great respect for older people and pensioners. The kids respect them for what they are, old people who've lived a long life and have great experience of life. And this all comes from the top. Okay, leadership. The mayor in the town and his councillors have great respect for the older people living in the town, and they try to do what they can to give them a decent way of life. And this just doesn't happen in our town, it happens in every town. Because in every town in France, the mayor is all important. Here's the boss. It isn't just, a mayor, a chap who's been stuck in a position like in England, who I suppose is voted, elected, local councils and things like that. But he hasn't got much power. Now here, the mayor has ultimate power. He has his budgets, and he looks after the schools, and his councillors and the council workers, all employed by the town, not by a local district department or a local, county council or anything like that. No, they're all employed locally by the town. And he has his budget. He looks after the roads and the verges and the gardens and parks and building for pensioners and the school and anything you want to talk about in the town. The mayor and his councillors, they are responsible for it. And now this is important. They're accountable. Now we get a bull town 2 or 3 times a year. It's the news from the town. Comes through your door, and all the council meetings are printed out. They're reported. Every word that's said is there, written down, and every penny they spend is all written down. Then people know what the budgets are. They know what the council spent the money on. They know where it's gone. And on the first Saturday in January every year, the mayor stands up before everybody in town, tells them what he's done and what he's going to do next year. And then we have a super evening afterwards with sparkling wine for everybody and lots of goodies, warm snacks, and it goes on quite a long time. Now, going back to pensioners then, we've just had our Christmas present come. I'll put something on here. Every year anybody over 75 in the community gets a Christmas present. And we have a bottle of wine, a box of biscuits, a nice box of chocolates, and this year we've got a jar of pâté as well. It's given by the councillors, and there's a committee that raise the funds to do this. So everybody in the community gets one. And because you're living together, you don't have to share one. You know, Ruth and I get one each. So it's not like in England when you had the fuel payments, and initially Ruth got one because she's older than me. And then when we both were of age, we had to share it. And now you get one present each. So that's one thing. Now come April, and the mayor and the councillors and the committee de fête, they organise a banquet for all the pensioners. Again, everybody over 75. And in our community, which is about a town of just over 2,000 people, there are about 150 or so of us who sit down together in the main what do you call it now? We have a big community building which is, you know, used for all kinds of events. I'll think of the proper word in a minute. So we'll sit down there and we have a super meal prepared by a proper traiteur, you know, a proper caterer. It's probably 6 courses, plenty of wine, coffee. It takes about 4 or 5 hours to eat it all. And so everybody in the community, pensioner-wise, gets invited to that meal. Doesn't just stop there, because the council are all the time looking at any opportunity to provide housing for pensioners as you get older, and anybody who is living on their own, you know, and really not exactly sheltered housing, but there are little units, not that little, there's designed for 2 people, nice little units, very economical, in the centre of the town, where pensioners can come and live, you know, if they really need to be nearer all the facilities instead of living out in the countryside. And so our community, and again, this is the same for all communities in France. I mean, again, I live in a small community, but the towns are the same. Then the big towns, then this is what they're looking at, so that the pensioners, now our mayor says that these folks have lived their life, they've put a lot into the town, they've helped the community in whatever ways they can, they lived their life here, and so why should we not help to, you know, give them a good retirement, you know, and look after them. Looking after them. Okay, so now we still have a good postal service here, and the postmen come round, you know, and delivering things, but they do keep an eye on pensioners. And so there are people going around the countryside delivering things or whatever. The postmen are the main ones who do keep an eye on the pensioners in the community. So if there's anything awry, anything not quite right, then the authorities are notified. And I think that's good. So I think this is a good way for the oldies to be treated in their retirement. And not, I'm not knocking anybody, but you know who I'm talking about. I think it's absolutely disgusting that pensioners should be targeted as a means of grabbing money. And because the government in England are not accountable, you know, they say, well, they're going to give 5 million or 50 million to the health service. They've done it for years, but nobody knows it's ever gone there. Nobody knows, and nobody sees any benefit of that. They're not accountable, and they should be, for every penny. So there we are. I've gone on long enough. How long does it say? 9 minutes now. So I think that's how pensioners should be looked after, and that's why we love being here. Because, you know, we're appreciated. And we have a pensioner club in the town. It's a very active town, lots and lots of activities. And the pensioners, Ruth belongs to a sewing club, and there's boule de four clubs and sports clubs, and our pensioner group have their own gym. We organise our own gym sessions for retired people as well. There we are, gone on long enough. So that's my version of why I think oldies should be treated reasonably, and that's the way they're treated here in France. And I think it's fair to say all over France it's the same. Happy Christmas to you all, and I do hope that... Oh, by the way, winter fuel payments. Us folks in France, you know, we lost our winter fuel payments almost 10 years ago. We've not had it at all, pensioners. 10 years or more. Some whiz kid in government, I don't know which government was in power at the time, I think he was after brownie points, and he decided they fixed the figures to show that France was far, far hotter than England, and so any English pensioners living in France didn't need a winter fuel payment. But in their figures they included Mauritius and the West Indies and all kinds of exotic places, Réunion, you know, where right on the equator and places like that. And yet here, I mean, we get it just as cold as England, sometimes colder. So there we are. We haven't had a winter fuel payment for, I don't know, over 10 years now. So and somebody got brownie points and probably got a bit bigger pension in the government for knocking our payments on the head. So maybe they'll reinstate ours as well if they do see sense and give folks their winter fuel payments back. How disgusting can you get? Cheers folks, until the next time. Don't forget folks, if you like what we do, you can follow all Crackerbooks publications on our website www.crackerbooks.fr. You can download any of the things you see there, including complete books, picture story books, books for children, and on our Buzzsprout site, the links are on the website, there are over 200 audio blogs you can download to anything you use and listen to it another time. So thanks for being with us today, and all the best. Bye.